Life has a funny way of testing us, doesn't it? People push buttons, situations throw chaos, and the world sometimes feels like it's designed to disturb our peace. But here's the truth. Peace is not something you wait for, it's something you train for. Being unbothered is not about ignoring life. It's about mastering it. It's about choosing calm when chaos wants your attention, choosing clarity when drama tries to drag you in. And if you don't train yourself to be unbothered, you'll always be a prisoner to other people's moods, opinions, and actions. Today, I want to show you how to take back that control. Imagine waking up in the morning feeling good, sipping your coffee, and then suddenly someone says something that gets under your skin. A careless comment, a small criticism, or maybe even just a look that makes you wonder what they meant by it. Instantly, your peace is gone. You start replaying their words in your head, analyzing the tone, the expression, the intent behind it. That single moment of negativity takes root in your mind, and before you know it, it's been with you for hours. The problem isn't just what was said or what was done. The problem is that you gave it free rent. You allowed that negativity to live in your head, unchecked, without paying you a single thing back. And the more you replay it, the stronger it grows until it starts dictating your mood, your focus, and even how you treat the next person you encounter. Training yourself to be unbothered begins with recognizing that not every piece of negativity deserves a seat at your mental table. Think of your mind like a house. Every thought that enters is either a guest or an intruder. Guests add value. They bring warmth, laughter, motivation, and peace. Intruders, they take your energy, rob you of your focus, and leave you drained. But here's the thing. Intruders only get to stay if you let them. If you open the door, let them in, and give them space, they'll happily settle in. Negativity works the exact same way. A negative word, a toxic behavior, a bitter opinion. If you don't catch it and kick it out immediately, it will linger, and it will make itself comfortable. So how do you stop giving negativity free rent? You start by paying attention to what you're holding on to. Most of us don't realize how often we replay old conversations, how often we give energy to someone who hurt us months ago, or how often we carry the weight of things that were never even about us in the first place. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you spend the next 20 minutes fuming. A coworker makes a comment in passing, and you think about it all day. A family member criticizes you, and you carry their words like baggage. None of these things deserve your long-term energy, but because you didn't train yourself to release them, you let them take space. The discipline comes from practicing mental eviction. Just like you'd kick someone out of your house if they broke your trust or disrespected your space, you need to kick thoughts out of your head when they disrupt your peace. That means when negativity shows up, you don't entertain it. You don't feed it with overthinking. You don't give it extra attention. You say to yourself, this thought doesn't serve me, this energy doesn't belong to me, and you consciously redirect your focus elsewhere. It's not easy, but the more you do it, the stronger your mental boundaries become. Another piece of this is realizing that people will always project. A lot of the negativity that comes your way has little to do with you. That rude cashier at the store, that impatient driver, that coworker who always seems irritated. They are carrying their own struggles, their own battles, their own frustrations. But when you let their energy become your energy, you've just handed over your peace in exchange for nothing. When you recognize projection for what it is, you stop taking things personally. You stop thinking you need to fix it, or respond to it, or hold it in your head. You let it pass through you instead of stick to you. Training yourself not to give negativity free rent is also about choosing your battles wisely. Every conflict, every criticism, every slight doesn't need a response. Sometimes silence is stronger than a reaction. Sometimes walking away is more powerful than proving a point. When you understand that your peace is more valuable than being right, you stop wasting energy where it doesn't belong. You learn to guard your mind the same way you guard your money, your time, or your health. You stop treating negativity like it's a bill you have to pay, and you start treating it like junk mail, something you throw away without even opening. The more you practice this, the more unbothered you become. Not because negativity stops showing up, but because you stop giving it access to your mind, you build a filter, a shield, a mental defense system that allows you to see negativity for what it is: noise, distraction, clutter. And the less clutter you carry, the more space you have for focus, gratitude, and growth. Mastering the pause before you react is one of the most powerful skills you can ever train yourself to have. Most people live on autopilot. Someone says something offensive, and before they even know it, words are flying out of their mouth. Someone cuts them off and they slam on the horn. Someone posts something online and their fingers are already typing a response. That instant reaction feels natural, it feels justified, it feels like the only option in the moment, but what it really does is hand control of your emotions over to the situation, or worse, to the other person. When you don't pause, you're letting life pull your strings like a puppet. When you pause, you take the strings back. Think about how many regrets are born out of reactions, words you can't take back, actions you wish you didn't make, relationships damaged because you reacted too quickly. Most of the time, it's not the situation itself that ruins peace, it's our reaction to it. The pause is the difference between reacting with impulse and responding with intention. The pause doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're ignoring what happened. It doesn't mean you're letting someone get away with something. It means you value your peace so much that you refuse to throw it away on a knee-jerk response. The pause is a training ground. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Your body is screaming to react, your emotions are boiling, and silence feels unbearable. But in that space, you're teaching yourself control. You're rewiring your brain to stop, breathe, and think before acting. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. It doesn't have to be a long pause. Sometimes it's 3 seconds of deep breathing. Sometimes it's counting to 5 in your head. Sometimes it's walking away for a moment. That short window allows your emotions to cool down and your logic to step in. And when logic has a seat at the table, your choices look very different. Imagine someone insults you. The untrained reaction is to throw an insult back, to raise your voice, to fight fire with fire. But if you pause, you suddenly realize that not every insult deserves your attention. You recognize that most people are projecting their own pain, and your silence might actually protect your dignity more than any comeback ever could. Imagine your child spills juice all over the floor right when you're already stressed. The untrained reaction is to yell, to snap, to release all that built-up frustration in one outburst. But if you pause, you realize it's just juice. It's just a moment, and your child will remember how you handled it far longer than the mess itself. The pause transforms the outcome, not because the situation changed, but because you chose to change how you approached it. Another power of the pause is how it shifts perspective. In the heat of the moment, everything feels bigger than it is. That rude email feels like a personal attack. That traffic jam feels like the end of the world. That argument feels like a make-or-break situation. But when you pause, you give yourself a chance to zoom out. You realize the email is just a few words on a screen. You realize traffic is out of your control and not worth your health. You realize the argument might not even matter in a week. The pause pulls you out of the storm and lets you see the bigger picture. And when you see the bigger picture, you act differently. Mastering the pause also protects relationships. Think of how many conflicts could be avoided if one person just took a breath before responding. How many marriages could be healthier? How many friendships could last longer? How many workplace disagreements could dissolve faster if people learned to hold their tongue for just a moment? The pause is not just about protecting your own peace. It's about preserving connection. It tells the other person, I value this conversation enough not to ruin it with careless words. It tells yourself, I am in control of my emotions, not the other way around. The pause is a form of strength because it proves you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to match someone's anger with anger. You don't have to mirror someone's disrespect. You don't have to let external chaos dictate internal chaos. The pause gives you authority over yourself, and that authority is where true freedom lies. You can walk away without guilt. You can respond later with clarity. you can decide whether the situation even deserves energy at all. The pause is where you step into power, and without it, you'll always be a prisoner of impulse. Detach your value from other people's opinions, because as long as your worth depends on what others think, you will always be a prisoner to their approval. From the time we are young, we're conditioned to seek validation. A teacher gives us a gold star and we feel good. A parent praises us and we feel seen. Friends cheer us on and we feel accepted. Those moments matter, but when we grow up, that same need for validation can become a trap. Suddenly, every choice, every move, every dream feels like it needs someone else's approval before it's legitimate. And if someone disapproves, criticizes, or simply doesn't notice, it can shake your confidence to the core. The truth is, the moment you attach your value to external opinions, you hand your power over to people who may not even understand you, support you, or want the best for you. People's opinions are often less about you and more about them. When someone tells you that you can't do something, it usually says more about their limitations than yours. When someone criticizes you harshly, it reflects their own insecurities. When someone dismisses your dream, it reveals their lack of vision. But if you internalize all of that, you end up carrying baggage that was never yours to begin with. You start editing yourself to fit their standards, shrinking yourself to avoid their disapproval, and living in a box they built for you. That's not freedom, that's captivity. Training yourself to be unbothered means understanding that your worth is not a group project, it's not a popularity contest, and it's not up for debate. The danger of living for other people's opinions is that those opinions change constantly. One day they'll applaud you, the next day they'll criticize you. One person will say you're amazing, another will say you're terrible. If your confidence rises and falls with their shifting words, you'll never know true peace. It's like building a house on sand, unstable, shaky, and temporary. But when you build your value on something internal, something steady, something unshakable, then no matter what anyone else says, you remain solid. That internal foundation is built on self-awareness, on knowing your strengths, on accepting your flaws, on being proud of the effort you put in, even if no one claps for it. Detaching your value from opinions doesn't mean you become arrogant or closed off. It doesn't mean you never listen to feedback or stop learning from others. It means you learn to filter. Not all voices deserve the same weight. Not all criticism is constructive. Not all approval is authentic. You start asking yourself, does this opinion come from someone who truly knows me, who wants the best for me, who has the experience or perspective to guide me, or does it come from someone projecting, someone judging from the sidelines, someone who doesn't even walk the path I'm on? When you learn to filter, you take what is useful and let the rest go without carrying it in your heart. Another key is recognizing that most people are too busy worrying about themselves to actually think about you as much as you think they do. We often imagine the spotlight is always on us, that people are analyzing our every move, but the reality is, most people are focused on their own struggles, their own insecurities, their own lives. When you realize this, you stop overvaluing their judgment. You stop letting the fear of what they might think hold you back from trying, from speaking up, from showing up fully as yourself. The freedom comes when you finally understand that you are not here to perform for anyone's approval. You are here to live your life authentically. When you detach from opinions, you stop chasing validation and start chasing growth. Instead of asking, will they like this, you start asking, does this align with who I want to become? Instead of asking, what will people say, you start asking, what do I want to say about myself when this is done? That shift in focus is where confidence grows. Confidence is not about being liked by everyone. It's about being secure in yourself even when you're not liked by anyone. It's about walking into a room and knowing that your value doesn't increase when people notice you or decrease when they ignore you. You are valuable because of who you are, not because of who approves of you. The ultimate strength lies in realizing that you can respect people's opinions without absorbing them. You can hear someone's perspective, consider it, even thank them for it, and still decide it doesn't define you. That separation is what allows you to move through life unbothered. Because when your value no longer rises and falls with the applause or the criticism, you become steady, grounded, and untouchable. You know who you are, and that knowing is stronger than any opinion floating around you. Redefine what truly deserves your energy, because most of us spend our days pouring ourselves into things that don't matter while ignoring the things that do. Energy is like currency, and every day you're making transactions. The question is, are you investing in what grows you, or are you wasting it on what drains you? The reason so many people feel exhausted, unfulfilled, and constantly on edge isn't because life is too demanding. It's because they're spending their limited energy in places that don't deserve it. Every argument, every worry, every unnecessary commitment, every distraction becomes a withdrawal from your account. And when it's all gone, you're left empty. Think about how often you give energy to small annoyances. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you carry it with you for hours. Someone posts something online, and you waste half your day arguing in the comments. Someone whispers about you at work, and you replay it over and over, as if obsessing will change anything. These little leaks add up. They drain you before you even get to the things that truly matter: your goals, your relationships, your health, your peace. Training yourself to be unbothered is not about ignoring everything. It's about learning the difference between what deserves your energy and what doesn't. The first step is awareness. You can't control your energy if you don't notice where it's going. Start paying attention to what leaves you feeling drained. Is it a certain person, a certain type of conversation, a certain habit? Be brutally honest with yourself. Some of the things you give energy to are not problems, they're choices. You chose to scroll for hours. You chose to gossip. You chose to hold grudges. When you take responsibility for where your energy goes, you realize you have more control than you thought. The second step is clarity. Ask yourself, what actually moves me closer to the life I want? What actually matters a year from now or even a week from now? What actually aligns with my values? Most of the noise you deal with on a daily basis won't even matter in the long run. That's why redefining your energy is about raising your standards. Not everything gets access to your attention. Not everyone deserves your full emotional response. Not every inconvenience is worth your outrage. When you filter life this way, you create space for what truly deserves you. Your growth, your joy, your peace, your purpose. Another piece of this is recognizing the difference between reacting and responding. When you react, you hand your energy away instantly. When you respond, you decide if the situation even deserves your energy in the first place. For example, not every text deserves a reply. Not every invitation deserves a yes. Not every conflict deserves your involvement. You don't have to fight every battle just because it's presented to you. That's like spending money on things you don't need simply because they're on sale. Just because the opportunity to react is there doesn't mean you need to buy into it. Redefining your energy also means building boundaries. There will always be people who take as much as you allow them to. They'll drain your time, your patience, your compassion if you never set limits. Boundaries are how you protect your energy without apology. Saying no is not rude, it's responsible. Walking away from toxic conversations is not weakness, it's wisdom. Choosing not to explain yourself over and over again is not arrogance, it's self-respect. When you create boundaries, you're not shutting people out. You're making sure your energy is preserved for what matters most. One of the most powerful shifts is learning to prioritize peace over proving points. So often we waste energy trying to convince people who don't want to understand us, trying to defend ourselves against criticism that doesn't matter, trying to prove our worth to people who will never see it. That's like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. It will never be enough. When you realize you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to, you suddenly have more energy for building, for creating, for living. It's also important to redirect your energy into things that actually refill you. Energy is not just about conservation, it's about renewal. When you give time to gratitude, to exercise, to learning, to meaningful conversations, you're not draining yourself, you're recharging. The more you invest in what builds you, the less you even notice the things that used to drain you. It's not that negativity disappears, it's that it no longer has the power to pull you in because your energy is already tied to something bigger, something more important. Redefining what deserves your energy is ultimately about choosing alignment over chaos. Every day you have the choice to give energy to distractions or to direction, to waste it on drama or to invest it in discipline, to pour it into things that steal from you or things that strengthen you. And when you finally understand that your energy is one of the most valuable resources you'll ever have, you stop spending it carelessly and start treating it like the treasure it is. Build inner confidence through consistent discipline, because real confidence doesn't come from motivational quotes or temporary highs. It comes from keeping promises to yourself over and over again. Too many people think confidence is about personality, about how loud you can speak or how boldly you can walk into a room, but that's surface level. True confidence is quiet. It's the calm assurance that you can rely on yourself, that when you say you'll do something, you'll actually follow through. Without discipline, confidence is fragile. It crumbles the moment life tests you. With discipline, confidence is unshakable, because you know your actions back up your words. Confidence is built like a muscle, and discipline is the workout. Every time you tell yourself you'll wake up earlier, and you actually do it, you build trust with yourself. Every time you commit to a goal, and you show up even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce your belief in your own strength. Every time you resist the easy option in favor of the right one, you create evidence that you are capable. That evidence compounds over time. Suddenly, you're not trying to convince yourself to feel confident. You simply know you can handle challenges because your track record proves it. The mistake most people make is thinking they need motivation first. They wait to feel inspired, they wait for the perfect moment, they wait until it's convenient, but discipline doesn't wait for motivation. Discipline acts regardless of mood. You won't always feel like working out, but discipline gets you moving. You won't always feel like studying, but discipline keeps you focused. You won't always feel like holding your tongue in an argument, but discipline reminds you that protecting your peace matters more. And when you do these things consistently, even in small doses, confidence grows naturally because you've trained yourself to act instead of making excuses. Consistency is the key word here. Doing something once doesn't change much, but doing it daily, weekly, habitually builds an identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." You stop doubting yourself every time a challenge arises because your history shows you've overcome before. Think about it like this. If a friend broke promises to you over and over, would you trust them? Probably not. So why do you think your mind will trust you when you keep breaking your own promises? Discipline repairs that relationship. It rebuilds trust between you and yourself, and trust is the foundation of confidence. Discipline also means choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort. Confidence doesn't grow in the comfort zone. It grows when you do the hard things that others avoid. It grows when you push through the workout, when you study late into the night, when you save money instead of spending impulsively, when you have the tough conversation instead of staying silent. Every time you endure discomfort for the sake of growth, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your impulses. That strength becomes part of your identity, and identity is what keeps you unbothered by outside opinions. You don't need someone else to validate you when you've already validated yourself through discipline. Another powerful aspect of discipline is that it creates stability in an unstable world. Life will throw challenges, people will disappoint you, circumstances will shift, but if your confidence is rooted in discipline, you always have a foundation to return to. You know that no matter what happens externally, you can control your actions internally. That control breeds peace. It allows you to remain grounded even when everything around you feels uncertain. People who lack discipline look for control outside themselves. People with discipline carry control within themselves. Confidence through discipline also means being accountable, not perfect. You won't get it right every time. You'll miss workouts, you'll break commitments, you'll have weak moments. The difference is, disciplined people don't let failure define them. They acknowledge it, adjust, and get back on track. That resilience adds another layer to confidence because you realize failure is not final, it's just feedback. And when you stop fearing failure, you stop hesitating to take risks. Confidence expands not because you never fall, but because you've disciplined yourself to always rise again. Small disciplines matter just as much as big ones. Making your bed, sticking to a morning routine, practicing gratitude, keeping your word in small conversations. These tiny habits create momentum. They send signals to your brain that you are in control, that you are capable, that you are reliable. Over time, these signals build a narrative, and that narrative becomes your confidence. People will wonder why you carry yourself differently, why you don't get rattled easily, why you seem unbothered by negativity. The reason is simple. Discipline has built a foundation so strong that no temporary storm can shake it. Confidence built through discipline also shines the brightest in silence. You don't need to broadcast it. You don't need to prove it. You don't need to seek applause. It's in the way you walk, the way you sit in a room without anxiety, the way you handle challenges without panic. That kind of quiet confidence is rare, and it's magnetic because it comes from within. It's not borrowed from compliments, it's not dependent on achievements, it's born from discipline. And once you've built it, nobody can take it away. Protect your peace like it's your greatest asset, because without peace, nothing else in your life feels steady. You can have success, money, recognition, even relationships, but if your mind is restless and constantly disturbed, none of it feels fulfilling. Peace is not a luxury, it's survival. It's the foundation for clarity, for emotional control, for decision making, for growth. When you lose your peace, you lose your ability to think clearly. You lose your ability to show up as your best self. You lose the very thing that allows you to enjoy the life you're building. Yet most people treat peace like it's optional, like it's something they'll get to once life slows down, not realizing that life will never slow down on its own. You have to guard it deliberately, like something precious that can be stolen at any moment. The reality is, there are always going to be people and situations that test your peace. The coworker who thrives on drama, the family member who always criticizes, the friend who constantly complains, the endless notifications, the social media chaos, the bad news cycle. These things are not going away. If you don't protect your peace, they'll consume you. They'll leave you drained, distracted, and constantly anxious. Protecting your peace means building intentional barriers. It means learning to say no when your plate is already full. It means stepping away from toxic conversations. It means putting down the phone when your mind is overloaded. It means creating habits that allow you to recharge instead of constantly deplete. One of the strongest ways to protect your peace is by choosing your environment carefully. The people you spend time with, the places you go, the routines you keep all shape your mental state. If you surround yourself with people who gossip, you'll never feel free of negativity. If you spend your evenings drowning in bad news, you'll never feel hopeful. If you constantly say yes to obligations you don't care about, you'll always feel resentful. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's responsible. You can't pour into others when you're empty. You can't show up in your best light if you're constantly clouded by chaos. You need to curate your environment the same way you would protect your physical home. Lock the doors, filter what comes in, and remove what doesn't belong. Another part of protecting your peace is managing your boundaries with people. Not everyone gets full access to you. Just because someone demands your time doesn't mean you owe it. Just because someone wants to argue, you doesn't mean you have to engage. Just because someone throws their negativity at you doesn't mean you need to carry it. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They separate what nourishes you from what harms you. A strong boundary might look like walking away instead of defending yourself endlessly. It might look like limiting contact with people who only take but never give. It might look like saying no without explaining yourself. Every time you hold a boundary, You are sending yourself a message that your peace matters more than temporary approval. Protecting your peace also means protecting your thoughts. The way you talk to yourself is just as important as how others talk to you. If your inner dialogue is constantly critical, negative, or full of self-doubt, your peace will always be fragile. Training your mind to shift from self-criticism to self-compassion is not easy, but it's essential. Peace grows when you give yourself grace, when you celebrate progress instead of perfection, when you remind yourself that you're worthy of rest and respect. No amount of external validation can fix a mind at war with itself, so protecting your peace begins with the conversations you have internally every single day. Another way to guard peace is by simplifying. Most people carry too many commitments, too many comparisons, too much clutter, too many distractions. Simplicity creates space for peace to breathe. You don't need to say yes to every event. You don't need to scroll through endless feeds. You don't need to chase every opportunity that comes your way. Sometimes peace is found in choosing less, in focusing deeply on a few important things instead of scattering your energy across everything. When you simplify, you reduce noise, and with less noise, peace becomes easier to maintain. Protecting peace also requires rituals that ground you. For some, it's prayer or meditation. For others, it's journaling, exercising, walking in nature, or simply sitting in silence. These practices act like anchors. No matter how chaotic life becomes, they bring you back to center. They remind you that peace is something you can create internally, even when external circumstances feel uncontrollable. You don't wait for peace to arrive. You practice it daily until it becomes second nature. Finally, protecting your peace is about valuing it enough to walk away from anything that threatens it. You can rebuild money, you can rebuild opportunity, you can even rebuild relationships, but rebuilding peace takes longer and costs more. That's why the strongest people are not the ones who fight every battle, but the ones who know which battles are worth fighting. They protect their inner calm with the same seriousness as someone guarding treasure, because they know peace is the real wealth. When you make peace your highest priority, everything else begins to align around it, and the noise of the world no longer has the power to control you.